Okay. So these are the topics we plan to cover for CSC1550. So we basically going to cover the basic syntax for the Java, including all these control structures like a loop and if statement and a for loop, while loop, and we're going to quickly cover that part of material. So the control structure part is very similar to other language like Python. And we're also going to cover the class for the Java. And then we're going to cover the inheritance, polymorphism, recursion, advanced GUI programming, exception handling, and import-output handling. So we try to cover all the materials. But the detailed topic is going to be flexible because depend on how much time we have, and so the schedule going to be tentative. So these are the topics we're going to be covering. So based on all the topics, I'm going to organize the class material into a couple of modules. So if you look at these list topics to be covered, and we're going to actually organize into 6 modules. Module 1 going to actually cover some of the basic syntax for the Java. And so if you have learned the Python, you will find out it's very, very similar, for the control structures like branches, loops. They are very similar. And also, module 2, we're going to cover the data structure. And I also gave you the chapter numbers for each of the module. So you can actually compare the modules I'm talking about and the chapters in a book. Sorry. The modules and the related chapters. So each module consists of a couple of chapters. So I could group all these chapters together and put in the different modules. So for the assignment, for the class assignment, it's based on the module and also based on the chapter. So I'm going to pretty much give you 6 assignments. Okay. Each module will have an assignment. So you have 6 modules. So we're going to have a total of 6 assignments. And we plan to have 3 tests. I believe that's, yes, we can plan to have 3 tests. And also we're going to have 6 labs. Okay, 6 labs. So each lab actually basically corresponded to the modules. Now, when I say assignment 1, so when you actually do the assignment, it's actually, there's actually, problems in each chapter. Remember that, so each module basically covers a couple of chapters. So when I say assignment 1, basically assignment 1 consists of problems in chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh, I'm sorry, chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, not 5. Okay. So you need to actually remember this. And also, for the Zybook, one of the good things about the Zybook is in each section, in each chapter, and in each section, there are some assignments, some actual practices. Okay. So one is called challenge activity, participation activity. So I think, doing the problems in participation activities and challenge activities, these are required. So this is part of the assignment. So you have to actually, after you read each of the section, each of the chapter, please do all the problems in each of the section. Okay. And also in each of the section and the chapter, there's a lab work. And so there's some kind of lab work in each section, and at the end of the chapter, there are some of the lab works. So there are so many labs you can participate. So that's why I like these Zybook, because it's, there's a whole bunch of practices. That's basically participating in the exercises. That's probably the best way to learn the computer languages. Okay. So these are the topics we're going to cover. And so and also you can also see the course assignments and the grading. How much, what's the weight for each of the assignment, because your final grade is based on your work in each of the assignment. So for example, assignment 1, it's the weight is actually 4%. Okay, so for assignment 1, so um let me see, yeah, 4%. So you have a total of 6 assignments. So the assignments consists of 4 times 6, that's 24. And also the programming lab, it's also 4%. Okay. The test, each test can, basically takes like a 9% towards your total, towards your final grade. You're also going to have a final. And I also actually put the participation as a 10%. So I think attending the class is mandatory. So if you have any reason not to, attend the class, please actually let me know. So otherwise, I'm going to deduct some of the participation points. So okay, so that's pretty much all the course information. And if you continue to read my syllabus, and I could actually mention about the tests and the exam. So because this is an online class, it's online synchronous, so the test is going to be online as well. So the test 1, 2, 3, 4, these are it's a web-based. So or even the final exam is web-based. So just keep that in mind. So these are I think this is a table basically showing the mapping between my grade system and the Fitchburg State University grade system. So I'm gonna grade your coursework based on 100 points, and these 100 points going to be actually mapped to the Fitchburg State University grade. So for example, if your total grade is greater than 93, then you got 4.0. From 90 to 93, you got 3.7. So I may do some kind of adjustment, but basically that's the mapping. Okay. Now, the class scheduling, I try to put a complete schedule for the whole semester. So this is tentative. Just keep that in mind. It's tentative. It may change because maybe after a couple of weeks, I find out I need to spend more times on chapter 3, for example, and then I'm gonna make adjustment for the schedule. But this is basically the schedule I try to follow. So if you look at the schedule, you will have some idea how the class is going to progress. So for example, the test one most likely going to be scheduled on February 22nd. So that's the plan. So it may change because the schedule may be modified depending on the material coverage. So just keep eye on these schedule. It may change, but this just gave you some kind of overall picture in terms of how the material going to be covered. So if you can look at the whole schedule, and I'll also put the thing of the information about holidays, and also there's a couple of days called wellness days. So in the regular semester, you know, in the semester without COVID. So in the spring semester, we have a spring break. There's a spring break in March. However, the university changed the schedule a little bit. So they actually eliminate the spring break. So instead, they're going to actually distribute these spring break into a couple of different wellness days. So you're still going to actually, we still going to take the, the same amount of days off. However, it's not going to be in the same week. So it will be distributed all over the semester. So which is, I don't know, which is kind of not bad, you know. Now, some of the wellness days are scheduled on Wednesday, Tuesday. So that's the reason why in my schedule, you only see, I think you only see one wellness day because there's only one wellness day scheduled on Friday. Okay. So, because this class is actually only for Monday and Friday, so that's why only one Wednesday on Friday. If you have other classes on Wednesday or Tuesday, you're probably going to see some wellness days on other days in the week. Okay. And these are the rules and the policies, like programming policies, assignment submissions, and so I can actually give you the due date for the assignment. Okay. In this Zybook, you need to actually, do this assignment by answering all the questions in the participation activities and also the uh, some of the activities in this Zybook. So this is actually very very useful book. So part of the book it just cover the materials, and the other part of the book it just gave you many of the practices and the assignments. So which is pretty good. Um, Now here's about the collaborations and the issues, academic dishonesty policies. Uh, I think I'm not going to cover this right here. I hope you can read this by yourself. It's in the syllabus. Now the basic idea is for the assignments, you have to do the assignments by yourself, unless I explicitly mention that this assignment is a group assignment. So I could actually group the whole class into a couple of teams. So you're going to actually work some of the assignment with your group members. Now, unless I mention that this assignment is a group assignment, otherwise, you have to actually the the work by yourself. Okay, and also for the programming, unless it's a group assignment, otherwise you have to do the programming by yourself. That basically says that you have to submit your own work, even though you're allowed to talk to your classmates, talk to your friends. It's actually encouraged you know to communicate with your friends, to your classmates in any of the subject. I actually encourage you to do so, but in terms of the homework assignments, programming assignments, you have to submit your own work. Okay, that's the general rule. As I mentioned, unless it is a group assignment, then that's different story. Okay. Um, so the last one is the disability services. So you have to actually contact the disability service department if you need any assistance. Uh, I actually received a couple of letters from the disability service about certain individuals. But if you need help, just contact disability services. Okay, I think that's pretty much all for the syllabus. As I mentioned, that the schedule may change, and I hope that every time when I change the schedule, I'm gonna update the syllabus on the Blackboard. So I hope I can do that, but sometimes I just forgot. Sometimes during the middle of the semester, so there are so many assignments and exams, so I may actually miss that part. But just keep that in mind. So if there's any change, I will actually put in the announcement on the Blackboard. So just check the Blackboard on a regular basis, particularly check the announcement. And also, if you have some kind of uncertainties, not clear about some of the things, check the syllabus. And if you're still not clear, just talk to me. So just remember, I'm always available remotely, during the class time, in my office hour, and also you can always reach me by sending me the email. Okay. If you say, okay, I'm lost, I want to talk to you, send me an email, schedule a Google Meet call. So, which is pretty convenient. So that's basically all I can say about this. And hopefully, you know, next semester, things are gonna be much better. So we all get vaccine, so we can go to the campus and live a normal life and attend a normal class. So I missed the I missed the campus life a lot. So, but well, so well, that's what it is. So we don't have a choice. Okay. So is there any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, do you recommend that we use VMware? Because that's what my teacher recommended for computer science of last year, because we had to be online for spring. So I just wasn't sure.
VMware, you mean the virtual machine?
Yes.
Uh, so I don't have a plan for VM. So what they use the VMware for?
Well, basically, if you were at home like me and you didn't have access to the the computers on campus,
Oh,
then VMware would allow you to access your own drive in order
that's
to access the different applications.
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So yeah. Um, Normally, when we teach computer science on computer science two, we basically use the computer lab. It's called a syncline lab, and we use the actually lab for video. So now, so if you, yeah, we can still actually access home remotely. Um, so that's something I want to talk about. So we have various different options here. Uh, the Zybook, because when we do the Java, we need actually to compile the code. But because when we actually write our Java code, so we need to compile the code. There are a couple of different options and different ways we can use. And the Zybook provides its online compiling service. So you can actually put your Java code in the web browser and click run and compile, then the Zybook is going to compile the code. So that's one way we can do. It's very convenient. It's not the best one, but because it's actually in Zybook, so while read the book, while do the practice, and then you can actually also compile the code over there. So which it's convenient, but I have to agree that it's not the best compiler available, and but it's the most convenient one. Now, the other way you can do is if you have your own laptop, so you can actually use the other compiler. For example, um, you can use Eclipse. Um, you can use some. Uh, so the compilers you choose, and so this is another way you can actually compile your code. And now, if you think your laptop is not very powerful, now you can actually log, and also your internet is very good. You can actually use the VMware to log into the lab machines in the computer lab on campus. So that's that's the other option we can use. And in order to do this from home, you need to install the VMware client. It's called a VMware Horizon. So, I will provide instructions for this. So once you actually log into the VMware Horizon, then you can actually you will basically get the same interface as you were sitting in the lab on campus, and it actually provides you all the necessary tool uh, for learning the material. So you can actually compile your code. You can you can actually add it to your Java code and compile over there. So you can actually, do all your assignments over there. Now, the disadvantage for the VMware Horizon is because you have to remotely access the VMware. So if your actual internet is not really fast, then the performance actually is very bad. It's very slow. So you need a very fast internet connection because you basically bring the whole graphical interface to your local machine. So you need a very high bandwidth. It's not just the actually text message. It's a whole GUI interface. So that's that's a disadvantage. But the advantage is that if you have a very high speed and you log into the VMware, uh, then you can actually perform the job just like you're sitting in a computer lab on campus. Uh, so that's something you can think of. But that's another option for you. So you can also find a compiler, Java compiler, Python compiler over there. So which is pretty good. So yeah. Um, so but it's available. It's one of the option, but in this class, it's not mandatory. Um, I just want but I will provide these different options, and so you can actually check which one actually fits you best. But the Zybook is the primary one we're going to use. So make sure that you realize that. Okay. So please, subscribe the Zybook. You know, um, now what's next? Oh, actually, before I continue, yeah, I want to let's see. If you actually only show the avatar, I just want you to actually just show your face. So you now disable the video, and I want to actually have some kind of greeting. So for each of you, so that we can see each other. So please actually enable your video part so we can see that. Okay, we can see each other. Let me actually disable the presentation so I can see. Stop the presenting. Okay. Okay. Yeah. If you actually log in from a laptop, so so we can actually see each other. How many of you? Okay. Wow. Hello. I think that's the classroom we have for this semester, and I hope next semester we can actually go back to the campus so we can actually see each other in classroom. But for this semester, most likely that's the way it is. So so if you have any question uh, in the class, just feel free, just feel free uh, to to send me an email, or just during the class, just raise your hand, or just interrupt me. So you know just ask any questions. And as I say that we have a lot of exercises and so activities that we're going to perform online. So also what I'm going to do is, starting from next semester, we next I'm sorry, next class, I can actually group some of you, so we can have some kind of a group assignment. So in the group assignments, I want you to read the material first and put together some of the questions, so we can discuss these questions in the next class. So that's something I want to do. So in this online remote teaching environment, I think best way to learn is to engage yourself, because we know that if you don't actually participate well, then you are probably going to be lost, because once you actually turn off your computer, you just you're going to be alone, and you just feel like you're helpless. But once you log into the Google Meet, and you will see other people, and also you will see me, so we can actually help each other and to learn the material. So that's the best way uh, uh, we can actually we can learn the material in the remote setting. Okay, and I think that's pretty much all I want to say about the overview of the class. um, do you have any other questions before we move forward? Great. Okay, so let's okay, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to introduce uh, the Zybook. Uh, so so I'm going to use the Zybook, but also to highlight the material, I'm going to put this material into the PowerPoint. Sometimes I'm going to use the PowerPoint to highlight the material, and because the good thing about the PowerPoint is sometimes I can write something on the PowerPoint screen, so I can explain things in detail. Um, so let's go back to the um, Zybook, the screen again. Uh, okay. Um, so let me share the screen again. Okay, so if you log into the Zybooks, if you log into the zybooks.com, you will see the textbook. Uh, you're going to be something like this, you know, like CSC 1500, Computer Science 1. Uh, so if you click the book, you will see um, the material, the class material over here. So now you can actually see my screen. And if you already subscribe to the Zybook, you can log in and you will see pretty much the same screen as I do. So each the Zybook is organized, you know, as a couple of chapters. Chapter 1, chapter 2, and if you click each of the chapter, and you will see each of the sections. Okay, these are all the sections for the chapter 1. So now, if you click section 1.1, and then you're going to see the material over here, and so these are the material, and now, but it's actually web-based. So each section is going to look like this. So once you finish the section, at the very bottom there's a link which actually leads you to the next section. If I click 1.2 programming basics, and you're going to go to the next section. Okay. So now the class material is here. So each of the class, you can read the class material, and then there are a couple of things I want to mention. One is participation activity. Okay. The participation activity is going to give you some kind of like animations. So you can actually, see the animation. For example, in this case, you can see how these animation performs to illustrate the concept. For example, the caption basically says, this is actually what this animation is supposed to perform. For example, this animation is going to say a program begins executing statements in main program, uh, you know, uh, int wage declared in integer variable. So basically, you're going to explain line by line for the Java code in this particular participating activity. So you can actually, once you actually see this participating activity, perform it, you had a better understand, how this Java actually performs. Okay, this is participation activity. Another participation activity, it requires you to do some of the exercises. These are multiple choices, so you can actually perform the multiple choices. Okay, and also, so this is the actual Java code, and you can actually compile the code here by click the run, and it will compile here and run the code. Okay, so another participation activity, and so also there's some other kind of activity called, let me actually find this one. These are all participation activity. So just keep that in mind. After you read each of the paragraph or each of the parts in the section, just do the participation activity. Just do your work, because your work will be graded, and eventually will be counted towards your final grade. So please actually don't miss any participation activity. Okay, please actually do so. And normally at the end of each section, there's another activity called a challenge activity. The challenge activity is a little bit more than the participation activity, because for the participation activity, normally you learn the material and you do the exercises. So you can easily find the answer in the book. But the challenge will ask you to apply the knowledge you learned to some problems. So it's a little bit it's a little bit more challenging than the participation activity. So so you can actually perform these, perform this. So both participation activity and the challenge activity will be graded. So just keep that in mind. And so you can actually, practice multiple times. So if you actually did something wrong, then you can try it again. So it allows you to actually repeat your work if you until you get the correct answer. So that you can actually doing this again and again. So this is actually it's it's kind of fun, you know. So the participation activity, challenge activities, these are the two actually basic actually exercises you need to perform in each section. And you are actually you are actually you have to actually do this. And once you actually done this, you will be graded. So you will actually you will be graded. Okay, so that's the Zybook. And now if you want to
I have a question.
okay, yes.
For the challenge activities, you said you get like unlimited tries, but for each try, does it take off points? Like if you get it wrong, or do you just get
Uh,
unlimited tries? You can get 100.
that's a good question. Yeah, let me actually find out this. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, let me find out this. So yeah, that's a good question for the challenge. Yeah, so if you get it wrong, you know, do you get any deduction for the points or not? Yeah, let me find out this. Okay, so I'll get it, I'll get back to you. So after I find out this, and also so during the semester, I'm gonna actually post one or two, couple of projects, and you also need to do some projects. So that's the Zybook. Now this is actually the Zybook concept is new actually to me as well. So I actually did most of the chapter. I find there's definitely some advantage, particularly during this COVID, and we have to learn the material online. So this is definitely better than most of the textbook, the paper books, because uh, it's easy for us to communicate our idea, and also easy for us to, practice most of the concept topics. So it's actually good. So try to take advantage of this, and in terms of price, it's actually cheaper than most of the textbook. And if you want to keep the material, you can actually, you know, print the material into the PDF file, so you can actually read it offline. So which is actually a very good option. Let me see to print the material. What can we do? Let me just check. There's some place you can check to print these, print each of the section. Let me actually check. Let me check one of the sections like this. GUI. Oh yeah. So when you actually click each of the chapter, like a chapter 15, GUI, and then you're gonna see some sections over here. At the very end, then you can actually click print a chapter. Okay. So this way, uh, you can actually print the whole chapter. So you can actually read offline. So sometimes things happens because the internet is off, maybe because of the snow storm, uh, so your internet is actually disconnected. So you can actually, if you can read the book offline, that's definitely a good option. So that's why I like the Zybook myself. So I think it's very convenient. Okay. Okay. Um, any other questions?
Yes. Do you know what the labs look like in Zybooks? Because when I subscribed, it showed that there were some labs in each chapter. So I just wasn't sure what they look like.
Okay, I can show you. Um, let me see. Some of the labs are not showing up, so I can actually show the lab. Let me see. Chapter 1. Yeah, we have Zybook Lab. No, this is Zybook Lab Training, and you know they provide a lot of different options. I can actually enable the lab so you can actually see the lab, but you know uh, I can. Okay, so for example, if you actually show the lab, um, one of the lab is just like this. For example, uh, lab formatted output hello world. So here they gave you the framework, the template for the Python code. Oh no, I'm sorry, for the Java code. Uh, we haven't covered the Java syntax yet, but this is actually typically the Java code are going to look like. So for Java code, it's not the same as Python. Okay, um, Java Java is a very it's called statically uh, you know formatted. So in this case, when you actually for Python, you can actually use a variable, say x, and assign a value to the variable x. So and so you don't have to declare what type the x represent. So x could be a integer, x could be a floating number. However, in Java, you cannot do that. Before you use any variable, you have to declare the variable. So that's the differences. And so there are a lot of different syntax. Now, this is actually the lab are going to look like. So this is actually a template. And then in some of the part, they're going to say, okay, type your code here. For example, format output hello world. And then I'm going to say, okay, please actually create output for hello world. And then you need to learn how to use the print statement, right? Because in Python, you basically use the print and then parentheses, and you can print any string. But in Java, the print statement syntax is kind of different. They use uh, something called a system dot out dot print ln print line. So then I'm going to say hello world. And you don't forget the semicolon. So now, for example, if I type this in here in the source code, it's a working space. And then, so then you can actually click, okay, run program. You can click run program, okay. So when you click run program, you will basically compile the program into the object code and then run the object code. So this is actually the output, program output displayed here. So this is actually the Zybook. So you can actually, so basically, when you actually ask to do the lab, you can actually perform this lab work here. And you can actually just compile over here by click Run Program. This is going to work. And if you use the other compiler, okay, people use another compiler. For example, you can use the compiler. Let me actually type some of this here. So you're going to use NetBeans. So that's the other compiler, Eclipse. You can use Eclipse. You can use NetBeans. These are the other actually free compilers you can use, but you have to download the NetBeans or Eclipse into your laptop or into your computer, and so then you can perform the compiling. So if you want to use your own compiler, then you have to copy and paste the code into NetBeans or Eclipse, the other compiler, and you can actually run the code over there. Once it's actually the code is running, then you have to copy and paste the code back to here, and then you can submit. But what I recommend is that if you use the other compiler, once you copy and paste the code back to the workspace over here, please run the program again. Because sometimes, because of the different compiler, it may actually run in one of the compiler, but it may not run in the other compiler. It's unusual, but sometimes it happens because of the different setting. But in general, if you have a right syntax, the code should be able to run under any compiler. So if you run, but sometimes it happens. So, but before you actually, submit the code, then you try to run the program in Zybook. Then before you submit the code, there's a developer mode and the submit mode. Okay, so when you actually in the developer mode, then you can actually type and update the code over here, update the workspace, and you can write your code in there. If the space is too small, then you can enlarge it so you can see it. You see, you can enlarge it, so you can always do so. So it's very convenient. So which is good. Do I answer your questions? Okay. Any other questions? So I try not to cover the material in this first class. I just want to talk about anything else, the class setting, the programs, and the Zybooks, the Blackboard, and I just want to talk about everything else. Make sure you're familiar with the tools, because in the remote teaching mode, the technology is very, very important. Okay, so the tools we're going to use are Blackboard, Zybooks, and also, of course, the Google Meet. That's very important, and the email. So these are the tools you need to know about. You need to actually familiar with. Okay, because every time when you got a problem, you have to use at least one of the tools to communicate with other people and to communicate with me. So make sure you know how to use each of the tools. Okay, that's very important. Okay, that's the key for the success for the class. Okay, the tools, because we don't have any physical meeting, so we have a face-to-face meeting remotely, but we don't have a physical meeting. Unfortunately, I cannot set actually by set besides you and look at your screen and try to fix the problem for you. And unfortunately, I cannot do that. But however, if you have a problem, you have a compiler problem, and you can actually use the Google Meet and share your screen. So I can see your screen while you're working. So then I can point out what could be the problem and give you some kind of a, instruction. So we can still share the screens, but unfortunately we cannot actually sit behind side by side and point the finger to the screen and say, here's your problem. But but it's close. We can actually still use the technology to simulate some of the, you know, face-to-face meeting, but it's virtual. So other questions?
Yeah, to submit, do you just change it from develop mode to submit mode?
That's correct.
Okay, cool.
Submit mode. You will get an instruction. You actually get the result. Once you submit, you will be notified. So so let's see. For chapter 1, you can actually start. After the class, I want you to actually start read the first chapter, and once after you finish your reading for each of the sections, do the practices. Uh, so for first chapter, maybe I don't think I'm gonna be very strict. So I give you so everybody, it's kind of like a trial trial section. So everybody actually just do your work, familiar with the tools, familiar with all these different environment in the Zybooks, and I will allow everyone to make a mistake. So we just learn by making mistake. So if you actually did something incorrect, then just let me know. So I, you know, so for the first chapter, we make it easy for all of you. So, but you have to actually practice it. That's the best way to learn. Okay. Okay. Please actually check the Blackboard, because I will actually post the reading assignments and ask you to practice all these uh, participation activities and challenge activities, and also the lab. I'm gonna post this on the Blackboard, just and give you the deadline. And during the class time, I will actually summarize the materials, and we may have a discuss section. So to discuss any problems you may have, or any problem each group may have. So remember, I gonna group you know all of you uh, into a small group. Maybe actually 3 people gonna form a group, 3 or 4. I'm not sure, but maybe 3. So I'll send you an email and I'll send you the instruction on this. But the best way to make sure that you don't actually lag behind is to participate, and also make sure you actually use the tool fully, and make sure you actually keep your communication channel open to your classmate and to me. So that's probably the best way. Uh, okay, let me actually check the uh, let me check the message here. Uh, Malachi, the Zybooks compiler eliminates the need for any other program. Theoretically, you should be able to use the Zybooks for everything we do in this course. Yes, that's definitely true. But for the class purpose, and also for compiling purpose, yeah, the Zybook is enough. So you can actually pretty much use the Zybook to compile all the code. But I still want you to actually learn some of the other compiler, because the Zybooks actually can compile most of the code. But when in practice, when you actually do any huge projects, like a big project, then you still need to pick some of the compilers, because when you work in a company, so different company going to use different compiler, because in the Zybook, you can actually compile a piece of code. But if you want to actually put together a different files, the Java files together to create a package and doing doing a big project, and eventually you still need the other compiler. So that's the reason why I still encourage you with some other extra compiler. In the past, I have used the NetBean, which is good. NetBean is a very good compiler, and also Eclipse is also a good compiler. These are very good, and but for the homework assignments, for test a piece of code, the Java code, to make sure the syntax is correct, I think the Zybook is enough. Yeah. Okay, can we get the links to the compilers? Yes, I will provide you the information. But to learn the Java syntax, I think Zybook is enough. But if you want to do a big project, I think it's still actually convenient to use the offline compiler. There are many online compilers. They are working fine. Sometimes if you have a small piece of code, then you want to prove your concept to make sure that your code is correct. It's easy to copy paste the piece of code in a text box in the browser, and you can quickly compile it, and it's very convenient. Yeah. But if you want to actually do a big project, so you still need some other compiler. So during the class, we're gonna mostly use the Zybooks, but I still want to actually introduce some of the other compilers. So make sure your code was working in the Zybook, and I also want you to actually familiar with at least one other compiler, and compile the code on the offline compiler, so you can actually run the code over there. So yes, I still want you to do that. Okay. Okay, we're almost there. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post our first reading assignment, and also the activities, and I'll post on the Blackboard. And so make sure you actually start to read the book first, and then I'll also send out another announcement and about how to group yourself, so you can actually form a smaller groups, so we can discuss some of the topics, and then we can actually bring the questions in the next class. Okay. So well, I think that's pretty much all I have for today. You have any other questions?
It's due next Friday, right? The assignment.
I haven't posted that yet, but I'll check the Blackboard.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll post on the Blackboard. So every time when I ask you to submit a work like assignments, I will post these assignment clearly on the Blackboard, and I give you the due date. So I'll make it clear. Okay, so I'm gonna post something today, most likely before the end of the day. So you can check it tomorrow morning, and then it will be there. So then, any other question?
Can I speak to you after?
Okay, yes. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I also actually take attendance, okay, because the attendance is going to be automatically, uh, the Google Meet going to actually automatically take the attendance because, and now I'm not going to actually count the attendance, but I just want to make sure that, you know, so you participate in this class work, and even though the attendance is part of the participation. Remember, I have a 10% participation point. Um, so attendance is part of this. Okay. So if you have any questions, any other things, just let me know. Um, Otherwise, I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about for today. Okay, I think that's pretty much all. So I'll see you Friday. So please check the Blackboard. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You as well. Hello.
Hello.
So, I currently only have 2 classes. You're my advisor. I just wanted to say that first, actually.
Uh-huh.
I only have 2 classes. I was wondering if it's too late to apply for any more
Uh, Apply for.
other classes.
Oh, you want to add another class, right?
Yeah, like at least 4, because I only have 2 right now. I want 4 in total.
Oh, of course you can, because you need to check the calendar. The last day for added job is. Let me actually show. Let me check. There's a. If you check the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
mm, For the spring. Okay. I think. Uh,
Monday the 1st.
okay. Yeah. So the final day to add a course with red card is Monday.
Okay.
February 1st is a day that you can still add and drop by yourself. But
Okay.
after February, uh, but after February 1st, I believe if you want to add a course, you need actually a red card. You need to get approval.
Oh, I see. So, I'm actually curious about this because I tried to register for a couple classes that you recommended, but I
Mhm.
wasn't able to get them. Well, not get them. Like it was like the first day. It just said that I didn't have a qualification, which was weird. So I was just having trouble figuring out which classes to apply to. Like a lot of trouble.
Okay. For certain of you mean qualification like a prerequisite or
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
okay. So sometimes if you feel even though you don't meet the prerequisite, you can talk to the instructor. The instructor may actually add you into the class.
Okay. So I don't know if I still have the recommendations of the class that you gave me, but should I try to apply for those um or
You can still try, um, unless for other computer science courses. Then um, for the computer science courses, you have to complete the CS2 and then the systems programming. Then you can basically take most of the other courses.
okay.
Yeah, except for the hardware courses, you know,
Oh, the hardware courses.
hardware courses you can take right away. They have 4 courses. Then you have to follow like first the intro to electronics. That's the first
Yeah.
courses you need to take. The prerequisite is mostly the math, you know, the math actual preparation.
Okay, so I took the math preparation, so it's just like hard to figure out which classes I need, which really sucks for me.
Yeah.
I'll try to. What's that website where you can check like what you need for your. I can't forget what it's called. My brain's just kind of blanking right now.
It's called a degree works.
Degree works. Okay, I can find that on the Fishwork
Web
website.
If you
The
go
web-
to the web 4, and at the very bottom of the web 4, you can find something called a degree works. And
under student. Oh, I see. Degree evaluation.
I believe so.
Okay, this is really helpful. I'll email you and let you know how it goes.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it a lot.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
have a
you.
wonderful day.
You too.